Forgive us, folks, because we are barely awake today.
Morning podcast.
Yeah, early morning podcasts are very sleepy.
But we have coffee.
Yeah, we do.
And a very interesting topic.
Yes. Yeah, one that obviously was going to happen because...
Obviously.
Yeah, well, I had mentioned to you before we even started doing the podcast that one of the things that I wanted to do was directors.
Right.
David Lynch was definitely on that list, but due to his passing earlier this year, we went ahead and did like a quick
with my mom
episode with your mother. Yes. Talking about David Lynch, kind of our memories of him, what he meant to us.
Right.
I don't really consider that a David Lynch episode. That was just kind of a, oh my God, he just died. Let's hit record and talk about it.
We have to talk about this.
Yeah, we have to do something.
And what he meant for us.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's an episode further down the list because his movies are really hard to describe and talk about.
Well, purposefully done. That was very intentional.
So that's going to take some thought. But let's get a theme song and we'll get back and tell you our topic for the day. Hello, all you pretty little people. This is the Pretty Little Podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Chad. With me is just Jess.
I'm right here.
And today we're asking a very simple question. How's it Coen?
I swear to God.
Because today we're talking about the Coen Brothers, who have had a very long career in Hollywood, writing, directing, and producing films. Some of my favorite films.
Yeah. Joel Daniel Coen and Ethan Jesse Coen, together known as the Coen Brothers, are an American filmmaking duo. Their films span many genres and styles, which they frequently subvert or parody. Among their most acclaimed works are Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing, Barton Fink, Fargo, The Big Lebowski, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, No Country for Old Men, A Serious Man, True Grit, and Inside Llewyn Davis. We're only talking about some of those, and then others that aren't mentioned at all. So,
Well, there's a couple you missed. Did you mention Hail Caesar?
No, it's not I missed. I'm reading the wiki. This is the introduction on the wiki.
Was also
I didn't put
Hail
that together.
Caesar and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, yeah.
Which, we'll get into those briefly.
Burn After Reading. I mean, a lot of movies.
Right. When you get interested in the Coen Brothers, and if you don't know who the Coen Brothers are, what they're about, they tend to have stories that they're almost fairy tale like in nature.
Yes.
Some of them.
Sure.
Some are just straight up adaptations of books, which are fine. You still know you're watching a Coen Brothers movie, even though it's being adapted. I think they're strongest working together when they write, direct, and produce.
Right. When it is their baby.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when you definitely get the seriousness mixed with the silliness. These are very much movies that are the definition of dramedy.
Right.
And I don't know how to describe it any better because they're
Well, I think of my favorite movies of theirs. I tend to think of almost as like dark mythology retold today.
Right.
There's a lot. I mean, because a lot of their movies, there's a lot of darkness. Like you think of a Coen Brothers, you're like, I'm gonna laugh, right?
Yes.
Or a lot of their movies because they're hilarious, and they are. But there's a lot of murder. There's
oh, absolutely. There are definitely scenes of intense violence.
Crime.
In
Very
some of their
much
movies.
Crime. Yeah.
Yes, crime, espionage,
all kinds
people
of shit.
Stabbing each other in the back.
Yeah.
Misunderstandings
Absolutely.
that just drive the entire plot of the movie. Like in Burn After Reading, is just the entire movie is one terrible misunderstanding.
Yes, but they're really good at shocking the hell out of you. Like the first time you said Burn After Reading is what came to my mind, but that's not...
By the way, we're going to spoil
spoilers across whatever the fuck we talk about.
So if you haven't seen any of their movies, I don't know how you managed to avoid it.
You probably have, and you just didn't know it was one of theirs.
True, yeah, that's very true.
But there are several moments in various Coen Brothers movies where you are left going, what the fuck just happened? Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes. Like I said, they're not all just like Raising Arizona.
My favorite.
That
my
is
personal favorite.
That is obviously a comedy.
Yes.
Fargo is only funny because of the location, the nomenclature.
The heck you mean?
Yes. The way that the people are interacting with each other, you know, they've got those northern accents.
They really play it up.
But at the end of the day, it is a crime movie.
Absolutely.
It is a movie about embezzlement.
There's several murders.
Kidnapping plots. Yeah. And
there's a wood chipper. You know, there's kidnapping. Yeah, but they weave all of these different elements together. So, and there's, in a lot of their movies as well, there's an element of the supernatural. Like even in Raising Arizona, you know, the biker guy, there's this kind of otherworldly, like Nicolas Cage dreams of him before, and he's like some demon summoned. He's like a manifestation of karma come to collect. You know, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou has a lot of... Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is the Odyssey.
Yes, it's Homer's Odyssey retold in Coen Brothers style. And I think that movie is fantastic.
My mother hates that movie, and to this day I'm so confused. I love the soundtrack.
I get it.
I don't.
It's you got to be in the mood for it.
Full disclosure, you know, I am a Texan woman, but I'm not Christian. But... the soundtrack, I listened to the soundtrack, the gospel songs, you know, Down to the River to Pray and all of that.
There were several songs on that soundtrack that I used at my mother's funeral.
Yes, there's power in that type of old South gospel or bluegrass and other movies. Right. There's power in those harmonies, and you're just like, ooh, yes, I will sing this all day long. I love it.
And then you've got the yodeling in Raising Arizona that just...
I'm not going to do it, but yeah, I've loved Raising Arizona for most of my life. It's the first movie I ever saw Nicolas Cage in.
Music.
John Goodman.
Music, you can tell that it is definitely something that they are interested in. Especially with like Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh, God, I love that movie.
Tons of fantastic songs on it. With Oscar Isaac and Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. I don't like how Justin Timberlake has made me like him since NSYNC, because it was this whole boy band war, and I hated NSYNC with an absolute passion. He had ramen hair. It was this whole thing. And then he turns out to actually be kind of funny and then talented. And I was like,
a really good singer.
God damn it.
And then he's willing to do like comedy skits on SNL or be in ridiculous movies.
Well, on The Lonely Island.
And he's very self-aware. Yeah. And he plays to that strength. And I think that is an excellent way to...
No, it gained my respect. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the best way you can reach out to your audience.
Son of a bitch. He's actually really funny.
But yeah, anyways. He's fantastic in Inside Llewyn Davis. That's one that... So, I think that the best way to start... What I already know, but what was your favorite... Or not your favorite, but like what was your first Coen Brothers movie that
I already said, Raising Arizona.
Okay. For me, it would have been Fargo. Not really knowing what the hell...
Well, Fargo kind of took the world by storm. That really, I feel, is the one that broke through to the world at large and made them
When people
notice.
Talk about the Coen Brothers, they're usually talking about the big three that were just bangers one after the other. That was Fargo, Big Lebowski, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, sure.
And for that, you know, from 96 to 2000, while those movies were coming out, like, I think that was...
Well, No Country for Old Men later on.
Right.
And that's a very different kind of Coen Brothers
That won Best
movie.
Picture.
It did.
That was kind of like a resurgence.
Sure.
Later on, because they did have some lulls.
I genuinely think that movie is...
The Man Who Wasn't There was not received well.
We watched The Man Who Wasn't There last night. I watched most of it. I fell asleep.
That's a hard one to get through. You really got to like old noir...
To be completely honest, you were like, we need to watch this. I was like, I don't want to. You said it has James Gandolfini in it. And I was like, Tony, okay, well, fine, I'll watch it. And then he's not even in it that fucking long. Oh, well.
Yeah, he's in it long enough to be
very Tony Soprano and then die.
Yeah, he was very Tony Soprano.
I'm not the biggest Billy Bob Thornton fan overall.
Well, and especially in this movie, because he he's too lifeless.
Well, that's the point.
And yes,
though.
it is the point.
Yeah. And he
to
does
his
a good
credit,
job.
he does it well.
Absolutely.
But it's not fun to watch.
Well,
it's not engaging.
The
Like I said, the movie feels kind of soulless.
Yeah. The concept of a protagonist who is almost like watching his own life go by as we are watching him. He doesn't engage a lot. And then every time he does, he fucks it up worse.
Well, and The Man Who Wasn't There, that is like the least Coen-y Coen Brothers movie.
It's so
ever.
straightforward.
Like I mentioned to you last night watching, I was like, this is almost a David Lynch movie.
Almost, yeah. Yes, it's not weird enough. Although, like, I still don't understand what the fuck the aliens have to do with anything.
Yeah,
What?
There's a lot going on in that movie that just kind of...
Scarlett Johansson just disappeared.
I think that the alien plot was just a red herring to make the audience think that he's going to get out of this.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
And
there's your alibi.
There's the karmic mythology type of thing coming in through that as well, because even in the end, he is put to death.
Yeah. Yes.
For murder. Not the murder he committed, but it still came for him in the end.
And his poor wife, yeah.
Well, she was cheating on him and helped James Gandolfini embezzle a lot of money.
True.
For blackmail that her husband put up, even though she didn't know it was her husband. You know, the pieces of a good story are there, and it's not a bad movie. It's just not my particular style, especially if you say Coen Brothers movie. There are several types of movies they tend to make, but you know, it's like
they're all very different genres,
right?
But they're all very similar movies.
Well, yeah, yes, there's a flavor.
Yes.
And a soul. Like
there are certain camera tricks they do. There are certain...
That's what I was going to say.
Cinematography elements that they rely on.
The slow rotation of a terrible thing happening.
Yes.
Like, you know, car accident or whatever.
Or the flood in O Brother Where Art Thou.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, you definitely... if
With the music playing and it suddenly changes.
Yeah, if you're aware of their style, you definitely
you're like,
pick up on the notes.
Yeah.
While you're watching their movies.
Sure.
And I think that's wonderful. Like I said,
it happens all the way back in Raising Arizona when the biker is blown up, his pieces fly up, and like things like the little baby booties hit the ground in different pieces, and all in this very cinematic, flowy way that's similar to some of their other shots.
Sure.
Yeah.
And for me, like I said, their hits are always going to be the ones that get me to laugh in some kind of way, or there's just that silliness to it that you can only get in a Coen Brothers movie. Because out of all the movies that they've done, and they've done a lot over the past.
What is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I do. Like, Fargo is always going to be up there for me.
Sure.
Fargo is just one of those
fantastic.
movies that start to finish, it's a masterpiece.
Yes, it is.
I do really, really like Burn After Reading.
Yeah.
Even though I know that it's not the best movie in their filmography.
The characters are either wonderful, terrible, or pathetic, just depending on who you're talking about.
Right. I could tell you what my least favorite is, and I think it's everyone's least favorite.
Oh?
The Lady Killers.
Oh, God. I refused to watch that again. I saw it once long ago. Is that really one of theirs?
Yeah.
That's terrible news.
Yeah. I remember going and seeing that movie in theaters and just kind of being like, huh? The problem with The Lady Killers is that it is just the silliness. There's none of the seriousness in that film.
Correct.
It is played almost like, but at the same time, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That's an anthology, though. Buster Scruggs only hangs
opening
around for a couple minutes.
That opening act for that movie is one of the greatest things I think that they have ever done. And it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah. Yes, it is, but it's also a very short little foof, and then it's done.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes long.
Yes.
But it's fantastic. Start to finish, you know.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, I mean, obviously, Tom Waits has his whole prospector section.
Right, Tom Waits is...
anytime that man shows up in anything, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite part.
Yeah, right. But this is another one of those directors, like a Paul Thomas Anderson or a David Lynch, that has an ensemble cast.
Right.
Right. They rehire the same actors.
Sure. Marry them in some cases.
John Goodman, John
Goodman, that's true.
Frances McDormand. You're going to see a lot of the same faces.
Yeah.
George Clooney is in a lot of them.
Yeah, and I don't like George Clooney, but I tend to like him in Coen Brothers movies for the most part. Oh, Brother Where Art Thou.
Steve Buscemi is in several, or a few
Peter
of them.
Stormare is in several.
Yep. Yeah.
Jeff Bridges is in a few.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are great actors that get in these movies. These are not nobodies that they kind of have to pull aside and direct them over and over. They've worked with them on several movies. They know what to expect from them, from each other, and they get really good performances.
Well, you could tell they're having fun doing what they're doing. Like, they're comfortable with each other because they've worked together so many times. But it's a whole new, and then you bring in like someone like Brad Pitt and Burn After Reading, and you're like, oh
or Nicolas Cage.
Sure, Raising Arizona.
Just kind of one time, like as far as I know, Nicolas Cage and Brad Pitt have never done more than one Coen Brothers movie.
I don't think so.
I don't either. I don't think they have.
I don't know. Holly Hunter's in a few. She's in Raising Arizona and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah. There are a few movies in their filmography that I will admit that I am not super familiar with, and that's because the mix isn't there. You know, the seriousness with the silliness is where I think they shine.
Absolutely.
And when they only do one or the other, it kind of falls short for me. Sure. So your things like Miller's Crossing, Blood Simple, while I do understand that those are critically acclaimed movies, for me personally, they're just not fun experience, like a Coen Brothers experience.
Right.
It's going to be the Raising Arizonas, the Barton Finks. I didn't even mention Barton Fink because that is like probably, aside from Fargo, my favorite.
I know you love
Coen
Barton
Brothers
Fink.
movie. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
It's not. It's more on the serious side than the silliness. Like the mix is kind of off there.
Yeah.
But John Goodman in that is just incredible to watch. His character, it makes that movie for me. And John Turturro is doing a great job too. But John Goodman is like. He is like the star of the show in that movie. Yeah. Despite that it is John Turturro's movie.
Sure. Well, John Goodman has a tendency to do that, though. He comes into anything and takes over.
We've said on the show before, John Goodman is a national treasure.
I adore him, except in 10 Cloverfield Lane, because what are you doing? Stop it. And I mean, he's not nice in every Coen Brothers movie, right? He's actually usually an asshole.
Right, yes.
You know, Raising Arizona, he breaks out of jail. He causes a lot of fucking problems. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? He beats the shit out of, kills the toad.
Yep.
Oh.
He is the Cyclops.
He is.
You know, Brother, Where Art
Thou? I
Thou?
love that kind of shit. Because again, I own a publishing house. I'm a writer. I'm a reader. I love mythology. And when you see it done well,
when you can take something like, that is so well known to the masses and make it your own, yes, it's like a great cover song.
Absolutely.
You know,
you're like, haha. Yes.
Yeah, there are tons of cover songs out there that I love better than the original because the artist who did it made it their own.
Me first in the Gimme Gimmes.
No. I mean, sure, that they are a cover band, so, and that's all they do. But I wouldn't say that their covers are my favorites.
It's just the first cover band I thought of.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even talking about cover bands. I'm just saying a band that covers something better than the original. That's kind of what Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is to me. You know, the Coen Brothers definitely took something and made it their own.
Yes.
And they're very good at that. They're very good at all of the elements that make a film fantastic. But they're either knocking them out of the park or they're just kind of, you know, bunting.
Yeah.
And doing what they can to get to first base. It really does tend to be hit or miss with their filmography.
I mean, for me personally, yeah, I'd agree.
If Raising Arizona had never been made, what would be your favorite Coen Brothers movie?
Honestly, probably Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
I remember
that coming out and being a big deal.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
There's so many because it has all the components of a fantastic Coen Brothers movie together. It's got the balance of darkness and light, the mythology and reality. It's got music is a character in their movies.
Yes.
It is an equal part to the actors, to the sets, to everything.
Sometimes it's like in Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yes, it's the driving force.
Yes, it is a main source of the plot.
I mean, even Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The Soggy Bottom Boys, like they're performing. Yep. Well, I mean, the actors are lip syncing, but shush. Yeah. You know, it's so well done. It's infinite. And well, that is something about Coen Brothers movies as well, is the best ones are infinitely quotable. And we quote them regularly. Various ones.
Yes. That is always the sign of a good film is when you can.
And a lesson is learned. Like at the begin, like through the course of their journey, the three main characters in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, the Soggy Bottom Boys, they do learn a lesson. It is hard times. I mean, John Turturro is beaten to shit. He's whipped. There's that supernatural element of the devil. There's the mythology example too. The devil is mentioned, selling your soul to the devil, but also the guy with the glasses and the big dogs who's coming after them seems to kind of maybe actually be from hell.
And then there's the whole bank heist plot with was it Babyface?
Babyface, yeah. Yes.
Nelson.
Yeah, Babyface Nelson, who is also, I mean, don't call him that. It's George Nelson.
George, yeah.
He's also in The Man Who Wasn't There. But again, it's also addressing the real life and times where it's set. So the KKK play a role. And they take these different aspects of culture in that area at that time and make it fit into Homer's Odyssey in a streamlined way. The sirens are there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different stuff. And it's so well done.
I remember when this movie hit DVD, I went to 2 Blockbusters trying to rent it and they were out. So I just went to Walmart and bought a copy. This was a big deal when it came out. And, you know, with this film in particular, and something you can definitely expect from the Coen brothers, it seems to me like they are very anal about how their films are being made and really putting you in a time period.
Yes.
Like with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, the insane lengths that they went to get the color correction on the film to match the time period. Like there was a whole segment of it in a bonus feature.
Depression era Mississippi.
Yeah, it's almost like a sepia tone, atmospheric, you know, dust bowl situation that they're in.
I'll just be Stephen Root for a second.
And you know, with The Man Who Wasn't There, with doing the film in black and white and getting, you know, when you're shooting in black and white, the way you have to do lighting and setting is far different than you do for color movies because you have to make it pop.
It has to be striking.
Right. And, you know, as the movie is, the cinematography in that, the lighting.
It's beautifully shot.
Yes, all of it is fantastic.
The composition's wonderful.
Like I said, it almost feels like you're watching a David Lynch movie. You know, you go further back, maybe not so much. They were more focused on camera work with things such as Miller's Crossing. Raising Arizona is another one because that I don't know that they really went out of their way to do cinematography for that other than filming the sunsets in Arizona.
Yeah.
Because that was something that they had mentioned. I don't know if it was in an article that I read or if it was on a bonus feature or something, but they did say that they had to like really, really make sure that felt like a sunset because on film, it doesn't come across that way. So there were different things that they had to do there with filters and shit to make that more striking. So yeah, they are very anal about what they do. And for all that these movies are different genres, different plots, they all very much feel like you are there in the time period that it is taking place in, and you know that you are watching a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, well, and the camera work they do in some of the movies is also very in Raising Arizona. From usually whenever Nicolas Cage is dreaming, but there's also just shots where you become the camera, and it's like rushing. Oh, the biker. He goes over the car and goes up the ladder, and you know Florence, Arizona's turn around and she's screaming. It's this, or the bowling ball in the Big Lebowski when you're inside the ball. Yeah, you know those type of.
Yeah, you do like the Big Lebowski, right? There is a scene where Jeff Bridges gets knocked unconscious, and while he's unconscious, he's having this trippy dream.
Oh, sure.
And so, yeah, you're going to get surreal weirdness in some of these films. The Big Lebowski probably has the most surreal weirdness in it.
Just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with like I said, that whole scene where he's unconscious and it turns into this like dance number at the bowling alley and he's running from a man with giant scissors and
it was Peter Stormare.
And the staircase leading to heaven and all that shit. So while the Big Lebowski, it's not I love that movie, I do think that I like Fargo better. I do like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou better.
Yeah.
I do like Burn After Reading better. Hail Caesar kind of surprised me after this last watch because we watched, six or seven of their movies just over the past week or so. Yeah, Hail Caesar really did kind of surprise me.
Oh?
Because I remember that being worse for some reason. I know it wasn't a flop. It made money.
I don't think it went down as like one of their classics.
No, it's definitely not one that really comes up when you talk to people about the Coen brothers.
Right.
Like I said, it's going to be 4 in particular. Raising Arizona, Fargo, Big Lebowski, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Those are the ones that I hear the most when anybody... And the 2, maybe 3 if you count Big Lebowski, but the most that I hear of people's favorites are Fargo and Raising Arizona, which are both fantastic. I think I like Fargo more.
Well, I have a lot of nostalgia tied to Raising Arizona.
Yeah, I get it. I mean,
and my mom and I and my dad, when he was still alive, we would do the okay then, like all the time. You know. Yeah,
and both of those movies, while very different, are vastly quotable.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those films. Those are just 2 examples in their filmography that we probably quote the most
as well. You know, you like to say I'm a Dapper Dan man.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, we thought you was a toad.
Do not seek the treasure. Yeah, it's definitely one of those types of films.
It's an experience, man.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Which we could argue.
I'd say it's award winning.
I understand why
a lot of people really like that movie.
Best Picture.
I genuinely do not, and I know you're not supposed to, but Javier Bardem legitimately creeps me the fuck out in that movie to the point where I don't really like watching the movie.
He comes across as like this, again, kind of like
chaos, man.
He's kind of like the bounty hunter in Raising Arizona. Yeah. He's another one of those just chaos characters that comes through. You don't get a backstory on him.
No.
You can't read him.
No.
He's got poker face through the whole thing. You don't know really if he's going to snap, if he's going to kill somebody, if he's not. He probably will. But it's hard to even figure out like an ethnicity or
he is just his own thing. He's unrelenting chaos, okay? Because he's got the coin. From time to time, but the coin doesn't always come in. It's not like Two-Face, where he always has to flip it and that decides everything. No, just occasionally. And I feel like that is, if there is any conscience in that man, that's when it rears its head to say, well,
yes,
maybe,
I always thought that that's one of those things that comes around when
maybe fate can stop me from killing
when he's undecided.
Person. Yeah.
Because he seems like a character that just knows exactly what he's doing at all times. He's prepared.
Yeah. Even
when shit goes awry, he can still get himself out of it because he has a backup plan.
Yeah.
And the coin is just kind of there when he's just like, do I or don't I?
Will fate let me kill this person?
Right.
Or will they be spared?
Or maybe there is a little bit of conscience.
That's what I said. That's the only time. But he's like the Terminator. He's like the fucking T-1000, except he's just a fucking man. But is he? Because he gets fucked up.
Yeah.
He always walks
that's
away
another one of those movies where out of nowhere, like just some graphic, violent shit happens and takes you by surprise. The car wreck.
Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. The first time you see it, you're like, you throw yourself back in your chair. What the fuck?
That is a legit jump scare the first time you see it.
Yeah.
But with No Country for Old Men, that's one of those two. Like, me, like I'm not big on Westerns.
No, neither am I.
This is one of those things. It's not really a Western. It takes place in 1977, I think, is when the movie starts. So it's definitely late 70s and then early 80s.
Sure.
But it does have that Western feel to it.
Yeah. Well,
and it does take place in Texas, so that helps. But again,
and like real Texas.
Even their adaptation of True Grit, like we didn't watch that.
I've seen it.
We didn't watch it during this watch through.
Yes.
We kind of hit on the big ones, your favorites, my favorites, and then we called it good. I don't, own every movie in their filmography. I think I'm missing like 3 of them.
No Country for Old Men is also another one of the Coen Brothers movies that is, you could say Javier Bardem's character is released upon, but he is karma because of the money that was stolen.
He's the fixer.
Well, I mean, for Josh Brolin, because Josh Brolin kind of wanders into this situation.
Right. Again,
he takes the money.
This is another one of their misunderstandings.
I
mean, he knows what he's doing.
He stole the money, though.
Right. But at the same time,
the devil karma is released and everything gets fucked.
It's that age-old question, right? What would you do if you happened upon a scene with a briefcase full of money?
I mean, that was clearly a fucking drug deal gone wrong. Yeah, damn line. I am leaving immediately. Yes. I'm saying nothing. Yeah. I'm taking nothing. I will be the woman that wasn't there. Absolutely not. No fucking way. Does he deserve what happens to him? No, but you invited anything.
It would be real difficult for me not to at least like take a stack.
I would not. I can make plenty of money on my own.
I ain't taking the briefcase, but I might take a stack.
I would not. Yeah, well, you do you. I'm doing just fine on the money department. I do not need to invite disaster.
I think 10 or 20 grand ain't enough for them to come after me.
Oh my God. No, fuck you. His wife gets killed. You don't take any damn money.
Well, I'm just going to tell him you did it.
Oh, no.
And then I'm laughing to the bank.
So rude.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just his unrelenting T-1000 nature with a, Lord Farquaad haircut.
The hair is terrible. Out of time.
Yeah. Nothing about him makes sense. But his choice of weapon is genius and fucking terrifying to me.
Yeah. Yeah, the cattle prod.
It's the thing where the tiny metal rod just shoots out.
It's the rod that's connected to the air compressor tank.
Yes, that they use to put down livestock.
They kill livestock with it.
Is a very obvious to me analogy of how he views people.
But he also uses it to like break into doors.
Yeah.
Break locks off doors.
But it's how he views people.
Yes.
It's just cattle.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter. Because the only kind of possible remorse you ever see or moment of thought is the coin flip. Mm-hmm. But then he follows the coin flip. The fate speaks.
Well, and at the end, when he gets in the car wreck and he actually has to depend on somebody, the 2 kids that see him get in the wreck and they come and help him, and you could see see in his eyes right in that moment he's like, I've never had to rely on the kindness of strangers.
Yeah, I don't think he likes it.
No, he doesn't.
But he shows no remorse. He shows no sign of humanity or empathy. There's nothing in those eyes.
Yeah, he's just a force.
I don't. That's scary. You can fight the ocean equally as effectively as you can fight him.
Yeah.
Anton Chigurh, is that his name?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oof.
So Burn After Reading. This is a misunderstanding of a film.
Right. Okay.
The entire plot of this movie is one giant misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And it's got everyone confused. It's got the main characters confused. Mm-hmm. It's got the people who are involved with the main characters confused. Mm-hmm. It's got the FBI confused.
I do like that.
And the entire movie ends on a punchline.
Yeah.
That I think is just so well placed. I don't want to ruin anything for that movie.
Oh, okay. We said at the beginning we were going to spoil everything.
I don't want to ruin that because that is the one Coen Brothers movie that like you really need to watch without knowing what's going to happen.
It has, in my opinion, the biggest shock in any of their movies.
Yeah.
That one moment where you're
yes, there is the one moment that happens.
What?
But also, like I said, that the ending punchline for the film.
Sure.
And the fact that like, in that movie, the main character is Frances McDormand. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of aging and she's not comfortable with it.
Oh, yeah.
She works at a gym.
Right.
And she wants to get surgery.
Several different cosmetic surgeries.
Right.
Yeah.
So she can look younger, feel younger. She wants to start dating again. She's been on dating apps and things like that.
Yeah.
And John Malkovich plays a writer who is in a troubled marriage.
Yeah.
His wife is cheating on him with George Clooney, who is Tilda Swinton.
Well, but he was an FBI agent too. He was like kicked out at the beginning.
He gets fired.
And then he decides to write his memoirs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now he's trying to write a book.
Right.
Well, all of his
analyst or something.
His drafts are on a CD.
Yeah.
And he's typing these things in ways that only make sense to a writer that is writing the story.
Yes.
So it looks like mumbo jumbo,
as a writer,
gibberish,
and an editor of many writers. Notes are fucking nonsense and only meant for us. I promise you, it won't make sense to anybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So he accidentally leaves the CD at a gym that Frances McDormand and Brad Pitt work in. Brad Pitt finds this. Well, the janitor finds the CD.
Yeah, it's some secretary or something had it in her bag and left it at
Yes,
the gym.
that's what it is. Yes.
He didn't even go to the fucking gym. Like, he's completely apart from all of this shit.
Right. So the janitor finds the CD.
Yeah.
Gives it to Brad Pitt, who's Chad.
His name is Chad.
His name is Chad.
And wow.
He's looking at the CD and he thinks it's some kind of government espionage shit that they are privy to. And now they have this gold mine in their hand that they can go sell to the Russians. So they go to the Russian embassy to sell this.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is a big misunderstanding. It comes to a head with the FBI getting involved. There's Secret Service men and hired detectives following everyone around, trying to figure out what's going on. You've got George Clooney going through this thing, cheating on his wife with all these women. And the entire movie is just insane. And I don't want to ruin the ending. I don't want to spoil it for you. I think you should go watch it. Give it a shot. It's not exactly easy to sit through, I guess, as far as a Coen Brothers movie goes, because it is kind of slow at the beginning.
There's a lot of really difficult people in this movie.
Yes, there's a lot of hard to like people.
Like John Malkovich.
John Malkovich, George Clooney.
Yeah, again, George Clooney is the most George Clooney in this one, and I don't like him. Yeah. I don't like him at all.
As much as you like him in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, you don't like him in this film.
He's everything I don't like about, from what I understand, George Clooney, the person, the like kind of very cocky, womanizing, whatever. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, and I always thought,
why?
I always thought that this movie had failed. I didn't think that this was one of theirs that did well in theaters at all. But apparently, yeah. I mean, $37 million budget with $163 million return.
Damn.
So,
all right.
Yeah, it did pretty well. I guess Lady Killers are probably still their least successful.
Yeah, because it's a whole bunch of
and even that kind of made money.
Did it?
35 million budget, 76 million return. So.
Okay, so people were like, "Ooh, new Coen Brothers movie." Then went and saw it, and then was like, "Maybe don't go see this."
What did The Man Who Wasn't There do? Oof! Oh yeah, that was by far their least grossing. 20 million budget, 18 million return.
Damn.
And I can see why. Because
it's a fine movie, but it doesn't read like a Coen Brothers movie.
In 2001, I was very aware of who the Coen Brothers were. I mean, they were coming right off the heels of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. They had, like I said, the big three: Fargo, Big Lebowski, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. I knew nothing about this movie coming out. They must not have marketed this at all.
I genuinely don't think I'd ever heard of it before yesterday when you were like, "Oh, we should watch this." And I was like, "The fuck is this?"
Yeah, the only reason why I have it is because, we used to go to those big sales where we would just buy hundreds of movies at once. And I would pull up on my phone, I would get a list of directors that I like and pull up their filmographies.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, today I'm going to focus on the Coen Brothers. So I looked at their filmography and I would go through the bins or wherever and find their movies, and it was there. And I was like, oh, one I haven't seen. Cool. It's just one of those things that kind of, they must not have marketed this thing well.
Yeah.
They must not have. And I think I did see it like long ago and maybe didn't know it was a Coen Brothers movie. Because like I said, this doesn't have the feeling of a Coen Brothers movie. No. This feels like in a lot of ways, it feels like a new director, like a new director's first
film. Trying to give homage to some people, whether it's David Lynch or Coen Brothers that he likes.
Yeah,
and doing his own thing.
In 2001, Billy Bob Thornton was still, pretty popular.
Sure.
He was still a draw to theaters. James Gandolfini had already been in The Sopranos.
He would have probably just finished,
that would have been a draw. I mean, Frances McDormand was in it. People knew who she was.
Sure.
I mean, she's married to Joel Coen. For
yes,
those of you
that's
who don't
why
know.
I made that joke earlier. You were like, they work with the same people. I was like, sometimes they marry them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I do think that The Man Who Wasn't There and The Lady Killers are probably... watch those last, get around to it if you can.
One that I really like that we haven't talked about at all that I don't hear a lot of people talk about is A Serious Man.
I am not super familiar with that.
I really like that movie. I'll speak in your language, Chad. There was a $7 million budget and it made $31.4 million at the box office. It's a 2009 movie. It's got that guy. His name's Michael
Stuhlbarg.
Yeah.
Stuhlbarg.
He's... What did he play an alien in? He played an alien in something like Men in Black 2 or something. I don't fucking remember. Yeah. He had a hat. I don't remember.
That was Johnny Knoxville.
No, I know Johnny Knoxville, for fuck's sake. I'm not going to confuse... First of all, I'm not going to confuse Johnny Knoxville with anybody, but especially not this guy. But this is a super... It's a super introspective movie in a lot of ways because this guy, he is a serious man. His life just fucking falls apart in every possible way. He does a lot of like questioning about his religion. He's a Jewish guy. The ending is wackadoo. But I really like it. It is a different flavor of Coen Brothers movies. It's not nearly as zany as some of them. But
no,
the dialogue and bite and like interplay is so important in their movies.
It's kind of like watching a movie about Milhouse's father's life.
Oh, I like him better than him. Get fucked, Kirk Van Houten. You cannot borrow a
because he's trying his hardest to keep it together and it just can't work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then he's also got all this like internal mental shit going on too. It's just, if you're in the mood for a Raising Arizona, they warn you in the title, A Serious Man. Yeah. Okay, he's a very serious man. But as far as a movie goes, it's classified as a black comedy drama.
I can see that.
I think it's fantastic.
Like I said,
I've only seen it a couple of times. I liked it a lot.
It's almost like watching Milhouse's dad go through his life for an hour and a half.
I guess.
From what I remember. Again, I haven't seen that movie in like 10 years or so. It's been a while.
I like it. I
think it was on IFC a long time ago when I watched it.
But yeah, there's the whole tornado thing and everything. Anyways, I don't hear people talking about it very often. I think it's underrated. I mean, clearly it did well in the box office comparatively. 7 million versus 31.4. But
yeah, that was a very low budget. And it kind of shows. I mean, there's not
a lot to it.
There's no special effects. There's no...
Until the end.
There's no camera tricks or anything like that. I could see a movie like that getting made on 7 mil.
Everything kind of falls apart and you're like, oh, I see why he's been anxious this whole time.
Yeah.
So...
I will go back to The Ballad of Buster Scruggs for a minute.
Okay.
Because I
like parts of that better than others.
Yeah. There are definitely 2 acts in that movie, or whatever you want to call them, 2 stories in it. I mean, the whole thing is read like...
It's an anthology.
It's an anthology, but it's read like an Old West book, right? It's chapters in an Old West anthology book.
Sure.
I will say there are 2 in particular that stand out. The other ones are just one's way too long to be a...
Which one?
The one about the Oregon Trail.
Covered wagon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
And then the one where...
I don't like the end.
Yeah, the final one is just kind of...
Which is the final one?
It's the one where all the people are just in the wagon going to...
Oh. Yeah, okay.
They're trying to get to a hotel.
And the coach won't stop.
Right.
Okay.
That one's... If you're into just...
Banter and dialogue.
Banter, dialogue, yes. Yeah. In one room. Like The Hateful Eight was kind of like that.
Right. At least they had a whole cabin.
Yeah.
This one is a coach. It's a stage coach.
Right. So think Hateful Eight, less violent, just in a stagecoach. It's very dialogue heavy. The plot is all driven by dialogue.
Sure.
And for some people, that can rub them wrong.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I think for me, I don't necessarily hate things like that. I just don't think this one was very captivating.
Well, I touched on it briefly a little earlier about one of the things that they do so well is banter, is dialogue, is interplay between characters.
And
that's a little too concentrated for me. There's nothing else. And it's kind of the antithesis of Tom Waits' part.
It is definitely oversaturated with dialogue.
There's almost no one. There's very little dialogue. If so, he's just talking to Mr. Pocket.
But to give it, to be fair, like, this is kind of what people did back then.
What else did they have
Heavy
to do?
dialogue.
Sure.
You're stuck in a wagon together. You don't have...
Well, and you're facing each other and pressed up against each other.
Yeah, you don't have a Nintendo Switch in your hand. You don't have a cell phone.
No earbuds where I could just be like, no.
You're kind of at the mercy of conversation.
That's absolutely what I would do now.
That's kind of how this felt. It felt like I was being held hostage by conversation.
And the coach won't stop.
Yeah. But yes, the opening act to that, the opening story is one of my favorite things ever.
Well, yeah. It's a little much for me.
It's Tim Blake Nelson.
Yes.
Who I think is underrated. Because when I see him in things, he's fantastic.
Yes.
But I don't ever really think of him. Like, he's not a draw for me to watch something. You know, he's been in lots and lots of movies, and he's been in a couple of Coen Brothers movies.
He's in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, he's in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
And he's an absolute sweetheart in that entire movie.
But he plays Buster Scruggs.
Yes, he does.
Who, like I said, if you remove him and replace him with Bugs Bunny,
I think that is a very insightful.
Works. It is a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
In live action form. Taking place in the Old West. He's even dressed like Bugs Bunny as a cowboy.
I think that is how Bugs Bunny dresses as a cowboy, isn't it? The all white.
Well, and I had mentioned like Scruggs and Bugs are kind of the same thing. There is one moment I like a lot where physics plays a role, and he is Bugs Bunny. He's quick speaking. He's a goofy range cowboy. He's got the guitar. He likes to sing, but he's also
big white teeth.
Yeah, he's also very good with a gun.
Yeah.
And very confident in his skills. And it's just incredible to watch this.
And immediately sings a song about it.
Yeah. And like I said, the ending even is directly pulled from a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yes, I do. I like that. And I'm not going to say what happens.
No. If you have...
not what you think
if you have 10 minutes to spare, just go... It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original.
Sure.
Just go watch the first 10 minutes of Ballad of Buster Scruggs. It is a good time.
Tom Waits' part 2.
Yeah.
Because that one, you want to talk about cinematography. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
In like Yellowstone and all of that. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
he's a prospector.
For the main, like, what is that segment? Maybe 15 to 20 minutes, something like that. Somewhere in there. And there's, for that time, Tom Waits is like the only character aside from
one other person.
Setting.
And the setting, there's a donkey. But yes, it's
so for a good 10 minutes of that, yes,
Mr. Pocket. He's looking for that gold pocket.
Yes, and if anybody can pull a scene, it's Tom Waits.
Oh, I would listen to that man talk about nothing.
Yeah, he is a storyteller for sure. If you haven't heard of Tom Waits, you haven't heard his songs. Every one of his songs he's a storyteller.
It makes me smile. I'm smiling just thinking about the fact that he exists. So yeah,
stop.
I love it. No, shut up. Stop. I don't want to talk about it. He was
He's very old.
He was the very first person I followed on Twitter when I opened my Twitter a long time ago. So he's still at the bottom of my.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. For sure.
I love him. Weird desert garbage can man.
So, what is it that you enjoy most about a Coen Brothers film? If you had to take one element of their film that absolutely could not be removed.
The subversion of humor, I think. The dark, subverted humor. Because and by that, I mean even tiny little repeated, like the okay then in Raising Arizona, or the heck you mean, or, gotta have a breakfast. Yeah, like there's all these little quotable moments that bring a lot of times it either helps with the setting and you understand how these people think and how they speak and how they process things. It gives you insights into the people, and it leaves you with a lot of quotable shit. I think because it's such an important way to bring you in. Yes, the cinematography does it. Yes, the music does it as well. But it's these little moments that I can't quite describe why they're so unique to Coen Brothers movies, but they are. And most of their successful movies have them. It's the little repeated, almost background things that you usually don't necessarily pick up on immediately. Mm-hmm. But on like rewatch, you see these little there's so many layers of storytelling they do.
Yes. For sure. And
it's those little middle ones, the little unsung heroes, that's where I think it shines the most. Because Lord of the Rings, beautiful cinematography, right? Absolutely gorgeous. Cinematography is important. Music is important. And yes, they all play a role. But you can get that other places. There is a quality in the little characteristic quirks in these different movies, in these different time settings, and in these different people that I don't see anywhere else.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely the writing.
Sure.
Because I think that if you took out the cinematography, even if they weren't even the best, like, at directing, if it was still well written, then I think I would still get a lot out of it.
Sure.
The writing in their films is top notch. It is superb. And I do think that they are, I mean, if I have a top 5 list of directors, the Coen Brothers are in there.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and that the writing is part of what it's like, it's what you end up quoting because it sticks with you, even though you don't know why. That rug really tied the room together. Mm-hmm. Pick a movie.
I can get you a toe.
Yeah, exactly. It's these little tiny moments. He's kind of funny looking that are scattered throughout these different movies that stick with you long after.
And it requires a very deep knowledge of the characters that you are creating to pull something like that off.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen movies where there are tons of characters in them and none of them were memorable.
Oh, well, yeah.
Sure. At least in a Coen Brothers movie, even if it's somebody they just stumble across for a scene and they're gone, you still remember those characters. They treat each one of these characters as if they are important because
as if they're starring in their own movie and they just kind of intersect for a second and then they go on.
There's a couple of times like John Goodman's character in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yes.
Like you can make an entire movie based on that character,
absolutely.
and it would work.
And see him go around fleecing
and he's only
people,
in it
selling Bibles, stealing shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The Jesus and Big Lebowski, they made an entire movie based on that character.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Any one of these just tiny, like I said, characters that they just happen to stumble upon for a scene and move on. Mm-hmm. You could make an entire movie out of any one of those characters.
Sure.
And that's
because they're real in that world in that moment. They're not just person B, I don't know how to say it. Whether or not they ever go into it, you fully believe that they are a fully realized person in that universe. We just don't get to know them very well.
Right. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, it has nothing to do with the Coen Brothers in particular, but I just need it said. I'm going to go on a small sub-rant, and it is because we watched The Man Who Wasn't There last night. And it's a problem. I'm going to address media at large here for a moment. Excuse you. Because Crunchyroll is equally as bad, and I watch anime, and sometimes I watch it in English. Sometimes it's in Japanese, but sure. But no, what brought this up is we were trying to watch The Man Who Wasn't There, and I like subtitles being on anything I watch for the most part, because I went to a lot of concerts. My hearing is kind of sometimes.
Yeah.
So for lower register things, it helps if I can read. And I don't always need them, but sometimes I'll miss a word, and then I don't have to be like, Chad, what the fuck?
Well, not only that,
say?
but sometimes just in movies, they'll say something that you hear it and you're like, what did they say?
Yes.
Like, because you can't understand
or
it.
Sometimes people get real quiet.
And I absolutely despise having to find the remote, run it back.
Right. And it's like, what the fuck just happened?
And try to figure out.
But
dialogue.
they had French and Spanish and something else. They didn't have English subtitles.
No. No English subtitles on the DVD.
What if I was legitimately deaf?
Yeah.
How the fuck am I supposed to watch this fucking movie?
Yeah. No,
what the shit?
I have no idea why there are no English subtitles on the DVD for The Man Who Wasn't There, but there isn't.
No.
And that is a very quiet movie.
It is.
Everyone is speaking very monotone, very low voices.
Yes.
It is hard to understand some of these characters.
But yeah, and it's something I have to deal with Crunchyroll, because like if you're watching it in Japanese, there's English subtitles, but if you watch it in English, there's not English subtitles.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you already fucking made them. What? They're there. So, anyways, no, it came up again yesterday. I fucking hate it when things don't have English subtitles.
So, I think we are in agreement with this, but I have to ask, what's your least favorite?
Well, my least favorite
Coen Brothers movie.
I don't know. There's several that I don't really know, like Blood Simple or Miller's Crossing. I've probably seen them. I don't care much for Barton Fink, but you like it a lot.
I do.
No Country for Old Men is arguably a very well-made movie, but it creeps me out. It's going to be The Fucking Man Who Wasn't There, probably, and that sucks.
Okay.
Unless the No Lady Killers. I forget that's a thing.
There you go.
See, I fucking forgot again.
And look, I'm gonna figure out how to watch this. I don't own it. I can go buy it. Whatever. I'm sure it's cheap as hell. But
look,
maybe I'll give it another shot.
I really think because the biggest problem with The Lady Killers is Tom Hanks' character, in my opinion. He doesn't belong in this fucking movie. If he had been in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, he would have fit in.
Probably,
a lot better, because he's a very Foghorn Leghorn type character
that takes place in modern times.
Yeah, I mean Marlon Wayans is in it. He's like the head of this gang who's I'm just talking out of my ass because what I recall is like they go into this old woman's house and they're gonna fleece her, but they're planning a heist. I don't remember what the fuck the plot of that movie is, but I know it's
this
Tom
is
Hanks.
why I said
Marlon Wayans and some other people too.
Before I shit all over this movie on a podcast, I'm gonna rewatch it.
I just remember him
give it another
being
shot.
Very Colonel Sanders Foghorn Leghorn.
Well, the last time I saw it, to be fair, was in theaters.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep for like 10 minutes.
I think I watched it on Comedy Central at some point back when that was a thing.
But this is
and I was just like,
one of their films that just was not like Man Who Wasn't There. It's just not memorable. The only reason I remember anything about The Man Who Wasn't There is because we just watched it last night.
Yeah.
So I would have to put those two, probably Lady. I think I would have liked Man Who Wasn't There a little more than The Lady Killers, because at least that is...
Well, it is a well-made movie.
Yeah, a well-made noir.
It's just not subverted enough. It's not humorous enough. It's not dark enough in a lot of ways. It's just kind of very middle of the road and fine.
Yeah, there is one scene in The Man Who Wasn't There that is kind of violent. You know, it's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah.
But,
point.
Yeah. But... The Lady Killers, I don't fucking remember a goddamn thing about it.
Yeah,
other than Tom Hanks.
I really think they went
Marlon
into
Wayans.
some old lady's house who was nice, and they're in the basement and they're planning some kind of criminal something.
Yes, they're working together to do something.
Well, why they're in her
steal
house?
Money,
Why she allows it?
Something.
Is it like Marlon Wayans' grandma? I don't think
it's anybody that they're.
Then why?
Related to.
Because I just remember Tom Hanks when she opens the door and he's like, I can't do it. But he's like, hello, ma'am. You know, it's very...
Isn't he trying to, like, woo her?
Well, I think he's trying to be all suave, but he comes across as really fucking gross.
Yeah.
He thinks he is, like, he got that Riz, as they say now.
Right.
You know, El-Riz. El-Riz!
The late 1700s, like... plantation owner charm.
Yeah.
The
like
Colonel Sanders, if you would.
He would have fit in with... But not Pappy. Who's the other one? Homer Stokes. He would have fit in with his crew.
Yeah, he would have been right on.
Art Thou with his with the pointed hood and all.
He would have fit right in on that porch.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes. Oh yeah. God. I just thinking of the Fat Man pants from back in the day. Now.
Yeah, a lot of high-waisted pants.
So much fabric.
A lot of rotund men in high-waisted pants.
Yeah, but I mean that's how it was, man.
Yeah.
A lot of biscuits. And a lot of not doing much.
So, at the end of the day, the Coen Brothers, like I said, they are definitely in my top 5. favorite filmmakers. I think that, look, if you have a stack of their movies, close your eyes and just pull one out and watch it, you're probably going to be very entertained.
Yeah.
With the exception of maybe 2 or 3.
Well, I would say put them in a few different kinds of stacks.
But with
they're
that
more serious,
many,
they're more zany.
With that many movies under your belt as filmmakers, they're not all going to be hits. You're going to have a few that fall short. You're going to have some major successes. The big ones, the major successes for them are all great films.
Absolutely.
Every last fucking one of them are great films. I recommend... look, I don't have to tell people what Fargo is or Big Lebowski or even Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Raising Arizona. Those are all fantastic. Watch them. My personal recommendation is going to be Burn After Reading, because I think that is, while it did very well in theaters, it's one that I don't hear people talk about. When I do bring it up, people are like, oh, I've never seen it. So if you haven't seen it, watch it.
Oh, it's very good.
It is awesome.
Yeah. I would say if you want more musical style of Coen Brothers movies, Inside Llewyn Davis is beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love the music in that, and I don't really care for like Bob Dylan style stuff, and he's doing kind of a Bob Dylan-y thing. It's that folk music, but it's beautiful. It's sad. I just remembered about the cat. That's not sad. I just remembered that we didn't watch the movie, so like bits and pieces are coming.
Right now with Inside Llewyn Davis, just go into that not really expecting like your typical 3-act structure. Right. No. This is kind of a day in the life of. Which is
evocative of the style of music that he's playing too. Like that folk music is just kind of telling a slower kind of rambly story type thing. It's like the opposite of pop, right? Pop is minute 30. Here's the bridge. Here's the key change. Chorus number 3 and done.
Right. I mean, the kind of story revolves around Llewyn Davis, who is just trying to make it as a folk singer.
Yeah.
He's trying to get his big break.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of, his relationship is falling apart with not only his romantic interests, but also his friendships are falling apart.
The cat keeps getting out. It is a more subdued, it's not a funny necessarily, but it's really beautiful in a lot of ways, including sad ones.
And this is also one of those films that, like, there is a particular song on the soundtrack that Justin Timberlake does that is incredible.
Oh yeah.
And it's featured prominently right in the middle of the film. Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend watching that. Listen to that song.
Hold on. I just realized this is the one that has the song with Justin Timberlake and Adam Driver.
Yes.
And, oh my God, I can't.
That is not the song that I'm talking about.
I know. I just remembered that.
But there is a song with Justin Timberlake, and I can't remember the actress's name that plays his wife in the movie. Uh-huh. She and him doing harmonies and vocalizations, and Llewyn Davis, Oscar
Carey
Isaac's
Mulligan.
character. Who?
Carey Mulligan is her name.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac is their guitar player, and that song is incredibly good.
Oh, yes.
I can't say it any better.
And again, I would recommend A Serious Man as well. I went for their more serious kinds of movies because you went Bird After Reading, which is one of the zanier ones. So it's really what kind of flavor of Coen you want, man. Because A Serious Man is very dark and it's tragic, and it has its funny moments. But
there's also, we didn't mention it, but just at the end, the Hudsucker Proxy, the Tim Robbins, is intentionally a zany cornball comedy movie.
Right.
That was their attempt at one of those. I haven't seen that in a very long time. It's another movie I don't own, but I should probably watch that again because I haven't seen that since
I don't think I ever saw it. I remember the name because I'd never heard a title like that ever. The Hudsucker Proxy.
Yeah.
It came out when I was a kid.
You look at the box art for it, and it does look like a zany, like Yahoo Serious type cornball comedy. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. But that was another one that just kind of wasn't received well. But then it was immediately followed up by Fargo. So, good for them.
Well, there you go.
It does seem that every time they have one of those, not necessarily failures, like Man Who Wasn't There, I would consider a failure of a movie. Just kind of across the board. It isn't really all that fun to watch. It probably wasn't that fun to make.
I don't know.
Nobody looks like they're having a good time in this film. And the box office reflected that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that out of all of them, The Lady Killers and The Man Who Wasn't There fall very short for me.
On both sides of their movie types.
But it just seems like every time they had one of those lulls, they followed it up with a fucking banger.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just that's the Coen Brothers. You know, that's how they make films. That's how they operate. And I think that they work best together. Mm-hmm. And I think their best films are ones that they, you know, write and direct. Maybe not produce, because they don't produce all of their own films. There are a few in their filmography that they have done all three of those things, but mostly they're writing and directing. Mm-hmm. And I think that is their bread and butter.
Sure.
Is when they're working together.
Yeah, 100%.
So with that, we can call that an episode. Jess, where can people find you?
I'm Jess Moon. You can find me at JHL Moon on Instagram. You can also check out shadowsparkpublishing.com. That's the publishing house I co-own and co-founded. Co. We've got all kinds of independent fiction, no nonfiction as of yet, but fantasy, sci-fi, horror, poetry, romance, whatever you like. Chances are we've got something.
Nice. Yeah. And you can find me on Instagram at Chad J. Moon, as well as the podcast at The Pretty Little Podcast. You can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/at The Pretty Little Podcast 69420. Bye.
Yeah, bye.